assistance. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Questions the House do now adjourn and give the call to the honourable member for Forrest.
Thank you, Speaker. Do Australians want to keep drinking fresh Australian milk and having access to some of the finest and best quality dairy products in the world? I'm glad to hear it. As a dairy farmer, I'm here to talk about the Australian and WA dairy industries. And recently, as a co-convener of the Parliamentary Friends of Primary Producers, we hosted the dairy industry here in Parliament, focusing on Dairy Australia, Australian dairy farmers and the Australian Dairy Products Federation, the manufacturers of dairy products. There was a cross-section of the industry in attendance, including Michael Partridge, a dairy farmer whose White Rocks dairy business is near Brunswick Junction in my electorate. Well, it was an outstanding event featuring some of the wonderful cheeses and dairy products produced right here in Australia. However, there are real concerns about the broader industry, and that was expressed by the manufacturers as well. And for those of us who are passionate about the industry, we are very worried about the future of the industry. Milk volumes are declining from the historical highs of around 11.2 billion litres per annum nationally. Now, Dairy Australia projections show a further 4 to 6% decline in production, bringing total production to around 8 to 8.2 billion litres. Now, there's been a reduction in the national herd to 1.34 million dairy cows as well, and a corresponding reduction of manufactured products and throughput for those particular manufacturers. Now, in WA, we're down to 116 dairy farmers, with 5 more due to exit the industry that I'm aware of. At the time the industry deregulated, there were around 300 dairy farmers in WA, geographically spread from just south of Perth down to the southwest through to almost Albany. I think we had around 125 dairy farmers in my Harvey Shire alone. Well, there's not many of us left now. The dairy industry has historically underpinned many regional towns and community economies in the dairy production states, and there have been significantly increased costs to produce milk in feed, in fertilisers, in power and labour. That's if you can find people prepared to work on a dairy farm currently. The reduction in volumes is, of course, an issue for the manufacturers for both the domestic and export markets, given Australia is the 4th largest in global dairy trade. In the domestic market, there's absolutely no doubt that the market power of the major supermarkets comes at a cost to milk processors and ultimately dairy farmers, who are the ultimate price takers with a perishable, vulnerable product. Now, the vertical integration of the supermarkets through Coles' purchase of 2 processing plants in Victoria and New South Wales also concerns me, and I can see further integration coming, vertical integration. Coles also owns Dual Fine Foods ready-made meals facility also in New South Wales. And I want people to keep in mind it was the major supermarkets that cut the heart out of dairy farmers' returns with its $1 milk that took significant market share from the historic branded products. Now, this directly increased financial pressure on milk processors as well as farmers. And here we have the market power and concentration of major supermarkets having a direct negative impact on both milk processors, manufacturers and dairy farmers. They're also contracting milk directly from farmers, so the vertical integration and absolute control of the whole supply and value chain from farm through to consumer is complete. But we have a perishable product that is fresh milk. It needs to be refrigerated, collected and processed on a daily basis. It places us as dairy farmers in a very vulnerable situation. In the longer term, we are definitely vulnerable compared to the market and bargaining power and control of the market of the major supermarkets who sell the majority of the milk. There's a major challenge for young farmers trying to get into the industry, the costs of a start-up and the bank's willingness to lend, and what it costs to the business and the pricing of the risk, the interest rates applied to a potential new entrant. And these people are few and far between. So a critical role is to keep consumers of dairy products, particularly those who live in cities and metropolitan areas, to keep them connected to those of us who are the producers and source of some of the best quality food in the world. Keeping in mind that drinking milk is a dietary staple in 98% of Australian households, and this really does matter whether you're a young child right through to a mature age. So I encourage people to keep buying branded Australian milk and dairy products.
The member's time has concluded. The question